Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It's Waity Lightheart from Bioptimizers with another edition of the Awesome Health Podcast. And today we're going to talk about stress and sleep and how hypnotherapy is very effective in these two areas. And our guest today is going to share a little bit about a project called Hello Mind. And I think it's really something you want to learn about. Very, very powerful technology. And our guest is Jacob Strachotta. And he has worked as a hypnosis and hypnotherapy for over 25 years. He originally trained as a captain in the Danish Air Force, where he worked with technical management, quality control, and organizational management. As part of his training, he learned how to help deploy personnel and at a psychological level. And that's very interesting. And in 2016, Jacob and his team launched the app called Hello Mind to help people break and eliminate negative patterns. Hello Mind has 1.5 million downloads and was nominated as Best Mental Company and Best Consumer and Wellness Company by UCSF Digital Health Awards in 2019. Jacob, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Well, you're joining us all the way from a rural island in the Denmark, the country of Denmark.
Right. Yeah.
Oftentimes, I think it's referred to as one of the happiest nations in the world, if I recall correctly on some of those things.
Yeah, I think we're number 5 on the list right now, but it's good to be there.
Yeah, it vacillates every year depending on who's voting, I think, sometimes. But the point of the matter is they're doing some things right in Denmark, and you're there. Tell me how you got started, maybe the history of your career. I mean, you know, Air Force and psychological deployment, and now with the app business, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, glad to tell you about that. So what happened basically is when I went to college, I got drafted to the military, and I was actually going to the university to study biochemistry. That was what I wanted, but then I got drafted, and I tried to avoid that a bit, and then I had to go in and to change my career in the military to be an officer, and then I would not get drafted to an island far away in Denmark, but I could stay on the island that I was. And then I was there for 11 years, did my service and learned a lot. And what the military does really well is to train and educate people, and also help people cope in stressful environments. And they have a lot of good stuff, also some other stuff, so they're different from when you're a civilian. So but I then, when I was in the military, I found out that I was interested in how the mind worked, because I did a lot also in teaching, and no chain is stronger than the weakest link. So working with teams, I got to wonder how can you get teams to perform better, and why are some individuals not performing at their optimal? And that was because also private issues come, you bring them to work, so you have that inside you, in your mind, in your subconscious, things you're going about in your mind. And then I got interested into hypnosis and found out that it's a really strong learning tool. So for me, hypnotherapy and hypnosis is the state that you're in, and hypnotherapy is the change maker. That's how change come about. So really it's two things. It's hypnoanalysis and hypnotherapy. And it may sound, the advanced words, but we try to keep it at a low level, because the subconscious mind is extremely powerful and can help a person accelerate or decelerate things in their life. So it's not like therapy, it's about learning and de-learning. So you need to de-learn something that you have learned when you were younger, and then, let the adult mind retrain that area that has been gold or not fruitful in the past. So I got very much into this and worked with over 12,000 clients, and working one-on-one with people as well as me helping them, they were also training me, the clients, and learning me a lot of stuff about how human psychology works on a subconscious level. And I will be really glad to tell you something about that, because it's, I've done it for 25 years, so it's very interesting.
It's very fascinating, and I will share with the listeners a common element or an element of my own history that they might not be aware of. And that is, for many years, I struggled in the world of bodybuilding. I wasn't very successful. And I came in contact with a fellow by the name of Dr. Lee Poulos, who was a Vancouver psychologist that did hypnotherapy. And I actually purchased a cassette that he had produced. That was back in the days of cassettes. And it was a hypnotherapy session with, and then the other side was subliminal programming around bodybuilding. And I listened to this every single night before I went to sleep, every night, and without fail. And when the year came up, I ended up winning my very first championship in a very close decision. And I stayed with that tape for many years, and then it broke and lost it, and then I reconnected with Dr. Lee as my career took off a little bit, and actually bought the rights to the recording, which was really cool. So I actually own the recording now that I used back then. But I started to examine more and more ideas about hypnotherapy and realized that it's an extraordinary, powerful thing. But a lot of people have a negative perspective of hypnotherapy. They think that somebody's going to make you do things that you don't want to do, or this type of thing. However, and correct me if I'm wrong, aren't people going in and out of hypnotic states all the time and don't even realize it?
Yes, we are. And it's like a passive trance state that you, or passive hypnosis that you go in and out daily. If you, for example, if you sit in your car, you drive from one place to another place, then you might forget where to turn off. But you were in control, but you can think, oh, was I out of control in that moment? But you were not.
Playing with the radio, but then you realize I've been playing with the radio and drove down the road 3 miles. I didn't remember anything on the road.
Exactly. And if you have been in school or any educational system, your mind may be wandering away, and the teacher will say, okay, Wade, will you read loud from page 17? And you discover you are at page 12. There's a time slip, but you know where you are, but you have been inside. And someone also said, to go within or leave without. When you go inside yourself, you are in a state of tranquility, and you're able to change your long-term memory. And you have a short-term memory and a long-term memory. And we want stuff to go down in the long-term memory, good stuff, so right. That so we can have a single mind about that and be very focused on whatever, if it's family, job, or something we want to achieve, a goal. If we have it in our short-term memory, then we will lose it in the everyday life. But if we can get it into the long-term memory, that's a very good thing. And I talked about learning and de-learning, and hypnosis is very good at not only learning stuff, but also de-learning stuff that is in the long-term memory that you don't want there. So, and that could be, if you have negative beliefs of yourself, beliefs, values, something that you're very convinced about, but that's not fruitful for you, then you can go into this mellow state and you can change it. You know where you are, but you are moldable, able to change some things that has been a structure that has been formed for a very long time ago. In everyday life, we don't want a lot of people to go and change our deep structures. If you went down the street and someone said to you, can I take your car? Yeah, because I think it's a great idea if you give me your car, and you just said, okay, you want that critical faculty in your waking state to say no to that. But if you have an opportunity and you're really good at, you want to be good at something, then you don't want a limiting belief in your structure that won't help you achieve what you want. If you grew up in a family that had limiting beliefs, or parents or friends or somewhere where you were suppressed, then you want to get rid of that as an adult so you can live a more happy and whole life. So that's what it's all about, not to be like a super person, but to be integrated in yourself, to have a sense of being able to feel happiness, peace, and love, the three big ones.
This is an area that I think that so many people have never considered, how a bit of hypnotherapy in their lives can radically change these limiting patterns. And I have been able to use hypnotherapy for myself. My girlfriend is a hypnotherapist, and she used it to become a world champion in jiu-jitsu. And there's so many top high-level performers who were able to overcome what many people would say is debilitating victim kind of situations. That they were, everybody has tragedy at some point in the human condition that can have deep psychological and emotional imprints. What few people realize is that imprint is not the event. And while you can't change the event, you can change the imprint, or what that imprint means to you. And would you say that's where one of the big skills of hypnotherapy is? And maybe you could explain how hypnotherapy works from an intervention piece, whether that's to develop new skills or change a belief system. Maybe you can kind of expand on that for people.
Yeah, sure. So, and I hope that, I'm English is my second language, so I hope that you understand. And I apologize if
your English, I think, is better than mine. So don't worry. I butcher words and structure and sentence and syntax all the time.
I think you're a good hypnotist, Wade. You're already doing good. Suggestions, positive suggestions is a great part of hypnotherapy. Also,
I've been accused of that. I've been accused of that from my girlfriend. She said, "You're a hypnotist, Wade."
This is super. It's right back at you. I love that. So it's a positive mindset is always a very good start, and I love what you say about the imprint, because the imprint, if you imagine a beach where you put your foot in the sand and the waves are going up and diluting that imprint. For some memories that we have when we have had an experience, they will be diluted, although they were bad memories, you could say. Also good memories will get diluted, but our brain is constructed to handle to help us survive. Basically, that's the most primal thing for the brain. So of course we have more a tendency to look for fearful situations and how we can overcome them, and that's normal, and everyone do that. But if you get an imprint where that fear is attached to the imprint, then you have the trouble, because if it's attached to something very normal that you see every day, then you will activate that fear every day. So if you have an example could be, if you have a car accident. Okay, so you go, this is just a simple example. You are driving and somebody runs up behind you and you get a shock because you were not prepared for what happened. And that's often how it's happened, how you will get an imprint. You're not prepared. Either you're too young, so your brain is not that well educated as when we are 25. The brain is fully developed when we are 21 to 25. So if you get like an imprint before that, then it will be more powerful. So if they run up, you are driving your Tesla, and I will, and a person comes up from behind, in their semi truck, and giant shock. You're in your own thoughts, and then it could go both ways. If you have a mastery strategy, if you have tried something similar before, then the brain will handle that much easier. But if you have not, and maybe you also are a bit nervous about getting shocked, you could have other systems in your brain as well that can, help form an imprint. Okay, then that imprint, it will be your attention. Like we are sitting here now, I have my attention here. So other things are going about where I am now, but I have all my attention here. If a sound will go off to my right, maybe it will grab my attention. But if you get run up behind, all your attention it will open up, and it will suck in the movement of the car, your balance in your body, the sound of glass and other stuff, maybe the milkshake with the wet will splash your face, the sun in your eyes, and some emotional, also if you were stressed at that point because you were driving there in the queue and people and you need to get to some job, all that will be compartmentalized. It will be boxed together like one thing. And then it's hard for people that have had an experience like that. It's kind of a post-traumatic stress disorder that can happen after that incident. So whenever you go into a car, you can be nervous. If people say, okay, you can drive the car, then that would be even worse, because the imprint will be activated that much more. If they say you can sit on the passenger seat, that would be a little bit better. But if they gave you a milkshake and you are on the front seat and the sun is shining, then it would be really powerful, a really bad experience. So, but what you can do is to, as you said, to go back to you said the imprint, and then the perceived, the perception you had about that incident is something different from what actually happened.
That's right. We have an impression of the event. The event has happened in linear time.
Yes.
The programming is kind of a firing due to the emotional intensity, the neurochemical release, and the situational composites, which can trigger that. Now, my understanding, though, is with high performance athletes or people in high stress situations, you're leveraging the same mechanisms in order to improve task function as opposed to see a deceleration. So in this case, the person's traumatized. Maybe they were hurt for 6 months after, and anytime the car stops quickly or a truck pulls up or they have a milkshake and they get any one of these things can trigger a threat response inside the body. And then the job of the hypnotherapist is to reframe that situation in a way that they say, well, yes, that happened, but you navigated out of that. You turned the wheel. You did you rebuild a new imprint about that past event so that you're not put into a defective or unproductive or unresourceful state. Should any of those triggers be activated, you can actually flip it the other way. And then you start to see that your history or the impact of your history at least is far more dynamic than maybe the events are.
Yeah, right? Exactly. You want to detach or delink the synfire chain that happens in the brain when it have all these factors, the milkshake and the bump and the sound. You want to detach that from the fear response. Because when you do that, then the synfire chain, the actually, you could see it you would remove the bottom pearl of a necklace if you have it like that, and then all the fear response attached to that incident will be removed. So you can drive a car. If people say, okay, you can drive this car or another car, they will be able to do it. They will be able to go in the sunshine without feeling fear on the highway, although they're not driving, because you have detached that emotional response from the actually situation. So because situations, they will be here, they will happen all the time.
Of course.
And we will, and stuff will happen, but you cannot, so if you said to me, what will happen next time if you have like done the hypnotherapy for that person, help them de-learn that experience, what will happen if they are in an accident another time? Then they will be prepared because they have a new memory that they survived. And that's the root thing you want to remove from the memory. That is that the brain thought it would not survive. But when you remove that and they know that they survived, then there will be no problem further on. The same with all kinds of phobias, fear situations, anxieties. You have all kind of fear response that are linked to a person or situation or an object.
It's very interesting because I think everybody, if they really check, they most almost ever have is fear response. And then I had Navy SEAL, former Navy SEAL trainer, and he still trains people to prepare for the Navy SEAL training, Mark Devine on. And of course, Navy SEALs are subjected to some of the most stressful situations possible.
Yeah.
And what's fascinating is how much work that they actually do on reducing these fear response mechanisms, and that they become, they are able to enter into a state of ultra high acuity perception capability. They're taking out bombs, or they're under an aircraft carrier, or they're behind enemy lines with no other, somebody finds them, they just kill them.
Extremely stressful. Yeah.
Very real, legitimate, like life and death situations where
it is. Yeah.
And they're relying on other people also to save you.
The team.
Yeah. So what would you like? I want to kind of tie in your military training and how that started to go. Like, were you working to help people deal with these high anxiety, high stress situations, or were you reframing maybe negative things that happened for them so that they could still be productive? How did that all work?
Yeah. So at that time, I was not, when I was in the military, I was not at that time trained a hypnotherapist, but I was very interested in learning and also de-learning. And we had the problem with, the world had the problem with Yugoslavia and ex-Yugoslavia at that time breaking up, and a lot of problems down there in Europe. And the thing is that the soldiers that came back from there, and I'd done hypnotherapy afterwards, after I've been in the military, when I worked as a hypnotherapist, I helped some of my also old pals and colleagues because they have, take an example, they were driving in a convoy in Dvor, a place there, and then they were in an ambush and had like snipers on each side. They could not get away. They had this convoy. They were locked. And the situation when you get an imprint is that, as we talked about with the car before, you cannot escape. You feel trapped. And it could be like physically trapped, but also emotionally trapped. You cannot get out of a situation. So it will become very high intensity, a lot of emotion, because how do I escape this? And even though, because nothing, they managed to get away, but a lot of people got imprints and post-traumatic stress disorder and had trouble sleeping because of this incident, and woke up in the night and felt anxious. And when you lose your sleep, then you come into a very bad cycle, because then you get even more stressed in your everyday daily life, because you need that. I know also with training, and the body just need to restore itself. Mm-hmm. So I work with them, and hypnotherapy is very powerful because you don't need a lot of sessions. It's not like usual talk therapy where you can, it can take some time to get to the root cause, the problem of everything. And also it can be quite confusing just for the person sitting and in the session to know what they need to solve. I don't know what needs to be solved. The client would say, I don't know what's the problem, what the problem is. And what I did was, when I was in the military, I did some research on the people that are sent out into war or war zones. It's not a whole person. They have stuff with them from back home, or they could have traumatic childhood stuff in there. And then what happens if they are in an ambush or very fearful situation? Then that will trigger and link back to another episode in their childhood. So what you need to do to treat them is not just to treat the actual episode. That would be logical. Okay, you were catch there. We'll talk a lot about that. We will debrief you. Yeah. But the thing is, you need to go back and also link that other episode, and then that will help. And we have done sessions in Hello Mind, the app that we made for just stuff like that also.
Wow, that's super cool. So let's switch gears a little bit and talk about the app, because before we started the recording, we were talking about how many people are aware that hypnotherapy is powerful and can, implant positive cognitive states in their body, even if there was negative trauma and things like that. However, they might not know where they can access a hypnotherapist directly one-on-one. And you've identified this as a big gap in the marketplace, and thanks to technology, have developed some really unique technology to help make this happen for other people. Can you talk about that history of your company, how that you came to the conclusion that this would be something, and why it's becoming so successful?
The Bioptimizer mission is to help more of the world fix their digestion at a core level. The truth is, your digestion is only as good as your enzyme levels. Imagine trying to build a house with a tree. It's impossible. You need to chop the tree down into small pieces. Similarly, in order for your food to be used by your body, it must be broken down into a bioavailable form. And that's what enzymes do, converting protein into amino acids, fats into specific fatty acids, and carbohydrates into usable energy units. We start out with an abundance of enzymes, and that's why kids can digest just about anything really quickly. The thing is cooking food kills enzymes, as they cannot survive at temperatures above 118 degrees. So years of this ends up depleting our bodies and leads to weak digestion. Taking digestive enzymes like Masszymes, which has an incredibly high level of protease for digesting protein, as well as other critical enzymes like lipase, amylase, and others, is a total game changer. Suddenly, you strengthen your digestion, eliminate gas and bloating, boost metabolism, and multiply your energy. Most importantly, you fix your digestion at a core level. To get started with Masszymes and to save 10% on your first order, go to masszymes.com. That's MASSZYMES.com, and use the code MASS10, MASS10.
When I do hypnotherapy or people are experiencing hypnotherapy, often the imprint that they get back to, the thing that needs to be treated, it is in the beginning very dark, and then when it has been treated, it is very light afterwards.
That is a very fascinating part of these type of things.
Super amazing. If you think about movies, you will make a dark movie, a thriller or something that would be dark, and if it's like a happy, it will be light. And also, I think it's extremely exciting about how light also travels in the body, and just to light up that, talking about there's of course a lot of stuff we don't know yet, but about biophotons and stuff like that.
Yes.
What are they doing? And I think that when you really work with yourself on an emotional level, the chemistry of your body will just change radically, because it's a dualism. You have both the mind and the body working together. So you need to work on both. Okay.
Well, again, this is a sidebar. Just a sidebar on that because I want to expand on that before we get back to the app. And,
yeah.
I had an aptitude for physics, and then that led me into the study of Eastern philosophy. And what was interesting is, of course, I have a company that focused a lot on chemistry, but I often thought that the chemistry is the effect, not necessarily the cause. It's the chemical effect, and there are agents of doing that. But if you can get down, I mean, essentially, we're all just waves at a certain level. Mind is an interesting wave in itself because I can experience my physicality. That's my arm, that's my leg. But if they were chopped off, am I still me? Yes. So I'm not my body. I can see my thoughts, or I can see my emotions or feel my emotions. So there's a sensory awareness of my mind or thoughts and my emotions. Well, wait a second. Well, then I can't be those because I wouldn't be able to observe them. So then what am I? And then, there's one idea that is we're projections, that light is projected onto the atom, and that creates a reflection, somewhat of an illusion. And that is what we see of the world through our five senses. That's a very ancient mystic idea, but the more that we get into it, the more that seems to be true, which means if that's the case, we have the power to change what the movie looks like, feels like, and tells us. So you come up with this app idea as a way to serve the world. How did that come about?
It was actually my wife that came up with that idea, because I worked a lot and people just came in and doing a lot of treatment, and she said, Jacob, we need to see if we can help more people in some way. And then we did some MP3s. We have CDs and then MP3s with some, as you talked about, with the tape. And the thing is that when you go through a session like that, it's the power of compounding. So when you listen to something and again, you accumulate that feeling, your synapses, you have the imagery, and everything is fired up. And the interesting thing is that the subconscious mind is goal oriented, and your conscious mind is process oriented. So the conscious mind wants to know every little detail and every step of the process on the road towards the goal. But your unconscious mind, it just needs the goal. And if there exists a process in the world that can take you there, it will find it.
Yes. Some people call this the reticular activating system. Right?
Yes, exactly. That's the attention.
That which you imprint, right?
Right. So you will be extremely focused in everything you do on that goal if you want to, go in a specific direction. So what happened was that it works, and we got good feedback on that. And then we thought, when the phones, they got more memory, okay, let's port it to that. And in the first, it was a simple, version of what we had. But then as telephones and smartphones, they got so much more memory. And also you got the cloud working and low latency. And I used to work as a software developer after the military. So it felt natural to combine those things together. So we made a treatment system where it's all about the person. When you're listening, when a person is listening to a session that is digitally made, there's no operator. You don't have a hypnotherapist. And people would say, oh my God, there's no hypnotherapist. What if I don't wake up?
Right.
Yeah, right. So the worst thing that can happen is that you wake up or you fall asleep, and then you wake up if you're physically exhausted. So the thing is that how can that be effective if you don't have an operator? But if you think about it, when I'm doing sessions and I'm the operator, I'm a guide for that wonderful process that is happening in the person. Like in the ancient, I think it's called Aikido, where you have to use the person's movement, the acceleration and the force of the person. So and the same thing in therapy. I don't need to do that much work. I should not do that much work. The person should do the work, but they should be guided by themselves, and it should not feel like work, because that imprint has so much energy, so it will do the work for them and also do the work for me. So, and I find that wonderful, transparent and great and logical. Why put a lot of energy from the client to treat something, or from me? It's not necessary. But the person, another thing is that I think that the person that created the problem in the first time, or was exposed to a problem, they are also the most powerful person to solve it,
They're the best.
Of course.
So it'd be safe to say that hypnotherapy is like a keto for the mind.
Yes, it is.
That's
so
beautiful.
It's wonderful with Hello Mind. You're just putting it on, and then we have created like a frame. You have a framework. So we present like a treatment framework that is changing, but we don't know the content. So the person would put in the content at several places in the treatment, and that way it becomes very flexible and also changing. So when you listen to it the next time, you will put some different content because your mind changed from the session before. So, and it's not the same session. We will hypnotize the person differently each time. It will not get boring, because the mind, can also get bored. Oh no, do I have to do this again, the same thing? Right. But it's not the same thing. So we have like mixed it up in that way. So the mind will always be like aware, oh, what is happening now? Like if you have a teacher that are coming into the class differently each time,
That's really cool. So what you're saying is that the app is now allowing people to become more dynamic in the presentation of the information and progressive because of the nature of technology. So the economic savings of this is extraordinary. Would it not be, if you were having to do an app versus getting a therapist, or as an adjunct after you've maybe done your first few sessions with a therapist?
Exactly. And in between sessions, you can also, if you are going somewhere else, you can use it in between sessions. So we got this doctor from Chicago that have Hello Mind on his homepage, and he is treating people with addiction, because he actually called us up and said, I know that they can have a low self-esteem because of this. Also, I don't want to be able to treat them, their low self-esteem, but I don't have time for it like when they are here. So it's a very good adjunct. And if you want to, if you're another professional, you can use it as a tool. So it's a psychological tool, Hello Mind.
How often and how frequently can someone use hypnotherapy effectively? Is there too much? Is there a prescribed amount? Does it vary from person to person? What's the range of its use? And because I think of training programs, you can only train so much or exercise so much. So what's your experience in that?
I would say that if you don't have time to see your family or go to parties, then it's too much. So everything can be too much or too little. It's just to be in. What I think is, if you know that you have something you would like to work on, then you have an intent. You will have that start motivation, that little sprout. Okay, I have something here. I don't think that it should be like religious meditation. I need to do this every day, because then you can get disappointed if you skip a day. Or also when you're doing, I've done a little bit of training, not that much, but also physical training, because I want to keep a bit healthy here. The body is the temple, right, that the mind lives in. So we want that to be in order. So, but I also want to drink a glass of wine or eat a burger, and stuff like that. But if you eat burgers every day, then it's too much. And then you should maybe listen to a session, eat less junk food. And then when you get down to a point where you're not interested in junk food at the compulsory level, then you don't need to listen to it anymore. Then you can just,
else.
then you can, let Hello Mind be where it is, and then you should use it as a tool. So you don't go around with a hammer in your hand or, all the time, just in case, it's a lot of tools to have ready. So I want to use it when I know that I want to do something about it. That would be like, okay, I'm going to do something about my jealousy, for example, or my lack of sleep, or eat too much. And the good thing is that you can get the success almost by sleeping, you could say, because you don't need to do any work. You just put on your headphones. That's not that much. You don't need to do that much.
It's beautiful.
You get started, yeah.
So tell us a little bit about Hello Mind, and who are the people are using it? Where can they get it? How do they find out more about it? And what's it great for?
Yeah. So Hello Mind is really good for everything that you feel you cannot control in your everyday life.
Beautiful.
So, yeah. So if you feel that, everything that go against your willpower. So if you think that I want to eat less, but you always get to eat larger portions or something like that, then you can use Hello Mind to remove that subconscious system that are hindering you in fulfilling your will. So we should be able to will everything, what we want in our life. If there's a problem doing that, then you should say, okay, this must be some kind of subconscious stuff that I need to change.
Right.
I should be able to do this.
So that's a good sign. So whenever you feel you're not able to manage an aspect of your life that you're doing compulsively, overeating or indulging in the use of things that you shouldn't do, or procrastinating, or whatever it happens to be, that you don't seem to have your own initiative over, that's usually because you have some sort of deviant program in the brain that needs to be rewritten. And this is where this comes in to kind of curate those frayed edges of the human experience that you want to tighten up.
You have a little rascal in your brain, a little system there, that little bandit, it will say, no, I'm fearful of that. We can't do that. No, stop.
Right.
Or it will say, oh yeah, cakes, we need to eat a lot of those. They're great. But, so it's often, it's a younger adult, a younger version of you, inside you. We are like the Russian babushka, the doll, yes. Where another one. Right. So we are the multi-dimensional, like the rings in the tree, and you have everything in effect all the time. So, but some of those can behave disorderly, and we need to go in and help them. They don't do, the subconscious will not. It's not like right and wrong, or if something is good or bad. It don't know that. The subconscious will just do what it has learned. So it's all about learning. So you can de-learn stuff. There's no people that are stupid. We have the same brain. There's no people that are having low self-esteem or self-confidence or something, unless they put themselves down.
Right.
So we need to find out what is happening there, why I'm doing this. Of course we can change. That's the most powerful thing. The brain and the spine is like the central nervous system, and then you have the peripheral nervous system all around the body, but it's not a wise, or you could say it's not knowledgeable, the peripheral nervous system. Everything is in the brain, the whole perception, but you have that subconscious level. So we have basically two minds. You have your conscious and your subconscious. The conscious is very good at external things. How do I sort the world right now? And the subconscious is very good at repetitive processes. Like, we don't need to figure out how to put on clothes every day. You will know how to do that when you wake up in the morning.
Right.
Yes, it's in your long-term memory. So, and that's a good thing, because it would be very hard to be a human like Groundhog Day. Every day, something you need to repeat and learn everything. Very, very. But if someone had, like, in the morning when you woke up, said, son, you're just stupid and an idiot, and you will not, I hate you, or something like that. Then all those suggestions, they would be there. So, and it can affect the person when they get older. Every time that they lay in the bed, then the mind will pop up those old memories.
Correct.
So we need to so what HelloMind does is like to dehypnotize that. And I think the power of the mind, and the person is in control of themselves, and we should set ourselves free from the inside. And you said to me, what people are using this app. So, okay, so for younger people, of course, self-confidence is something that we all could use more of, and self-resilience and reliance and all that. But exam anxiety, driver's anxiety, and maybe boyfriend, girlfriend problems, the younger there's a big chunk of people using HelloMind for that, by the younger people. And then, of course, stress is mostly people that are above self-development. Men start to think about their self-development from about 35. So we are not that fast to start thinking about, maybe it's me,
Maybe it's me. Yeah, it takes a lot more failures for men to go, there's only one consistent channel.
Right.
I'm the only common element in all these issues.
Yes, it's so strange. No, that can't be. What is happening here? So we have females from 25 and up, and then men from 35 and up, and we have elderly people feeling alone in their home. 80 years old. We have this guy. He told us it's so fantastic. I've used this app and to feel more calm. And I think it's great. It's for all ages. Yeah, we never get too old to change.
It's super. Well, where can people find the app? How do they find out more? Get a copy of it. Start using it. Where do we get all this info?
Yeah. So they can find the app in the App Store and on Google Play. Android is for both smartphones. And if you just do a search for HelloMind, or on the web, HelloMind, it's like saying hello to your mind. Hello, mind. What can we do today to make life better? So download it, and then you will get a free 3-day trial, and the trial will extend itself indefinitely until you have. It will first start when you have listened to a whole session. So if you are browsing around, listen to the beginning of the different sessions, you can do that, no problem. And then you can sign up for a subscription, and we had also a family subscription. So if our idea behind that was, if you have a mother or father or grandparent that says, okay, I want to give this to my family, I will do the subscription, then they can add 4 more people.
Wow, that's beautiful.
So yeah, so don't just help yourself, help also your friends and your family, reach out, pay forward.
Jacob, this is great work, and it's so beautiful how you've been able to take this technology to the world and provide such a great service. It's been an honor to have you on the podcast. And for our listeners, I would invite you to check out HelloMind. Give it a shot. Why not try it? If there's an area that you've been struggling with, if anything triggered in your mind during this podcast and it said, hey, there's an area that I'd love to work at, why not download a free copy to try and do a little experiment and say, hey, go through the experiment and see what the results. Hypnotherapy has been able to change my life. It's changed millions of other people's, and it could be the thing that changed yours. Jacob, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Wade. And I think that my team has made also a discount for your listeners and viewers. So there will be a link for that somewhere, 30%. I think they did that. And so please enjoy, and thank you for having me here and spreading the word.
It's been a pleasure, and I wish you the best of success, and I can't wait to try the app myself, and I'll give you some feedback. And for all our listeners at the Awesome Health Podcast, I'm Whitey Lightheart from Bioptimizers. And I'd like to say not goodbye, but hello, mind. Take care. Have a great day.
And now for a Bioptimizers fixed digestion tip. How to get away with eating sugar. Hey, look, sugar is normally one of the worst things for you. But let's be honest. I mean, we all cheat from time to time. And here's a little trick that will ensure your body benefits from the sugar. Now, before you eat or drink anything sweet, take 5 to 8 capsules of P3OM. The patented strain in the formula devours sugar so fast it literally doubles in the body every 20 minutes in the presence of sugar. That doesn't mean that you can or you should eat a bunch of sugar or sit around all day doing that. But on the days that you do cheat or you go after one of those maybe meals that you wouldn't normally do, this ensures that you get something in your gut that eats the sugar. And it's not going to feed the bad guys or spike your blood glucose nearly as much. So to learn more about P3OM and its sugar-devouring and protein-digesting properties and how it can transform your gut and metabolism, go to www.bioptimizers.com.
Thank you for listening to the Bioptimizers Awesome Health Podcast. You can find more information at bioptimizers.com.